Hello, welcome to another Playful Magic video. This one we're going to talk about intuition. And intuition is a really interesting topic because there's the assumption that women are intuitive and men are not, but we're all intuitive, we're all instinctive, we're all born with this connection to our deeper wisdom. And if we're in the more conscious spiritual world, we might go, we're connected to everything that's ever been, ever was, and ever will be through our soul, through our intuition, and it speaks to us in that way. Or you might be a little bit more I don't know, human based, and just go, our intuition is a really important guide to connect us to the bigger picture of what's going on, because our logical brain can do so much, but actually there's always different things going on and going through us. And I just want to talk a little bit about intuition and the ways that it can come through, the ways that it can talk to you, and the ways that you can perhaps activate it a bit more. And this is a really interesting topic. I got into talking about it with my friend Romilly because she did a little telesummit a while ago where she asked a lot of creative people about intuition and did some creative activities. They guided creative activities to sort of tap you more into your intuition. So that's one way that you can tap into your intuition more, is by doing creativity, which bypasses our brain. You know, you may find this if you're a creator already, if you're doing some cutting and sticking or some gardening or some knitting, these sort of mindful, engaged, focused things. Quite often when ideas pop in or pop up from wherever we think they pop up from. So I think with all these videos, the most important thing I want you to do is to start getting aware of, how does this happen for you? Like, I can talk about my own experience, but it's not at all a prescriptive thing. It's not like, oh, if you do this, you'll get this result. It's more like, try this and see what happens. So with my intuition, it's got better and better over the years, but I also know it was finely honed when I was younger. And also because I think in a way it was really useful, because I was a nurse for a really long time in pediatrics. So that's babies, small children, teenagers. A lot of my patients couldn't talk. They were unable to explain what was going on. And we used to be able to develop really great sense for what they were trying to communicate, even though they couldn't actually say. And in fact, a lot of adults can't describe their symptoms very clearly. So being intuitive in nursing was really useful. So it was a skill that was valued in my job, and also, and actually really, really important. You know, there's times when I was looking after somebody and I would just get this feeling, and this kind of gut feeling like, oh, something's going to happen. And all their observations, you know, all the measurements we were taking might be fine. And there was no real sort of external signs that things were going to happen or something, or they were going to suddenly get unwell. But I'd get a feeling in my body that, oh, I don't like this at all. And then quite often something would happen. I was like, that's interesting. That I was going to say weird then. That's interesting that I could kind of, part of my body knew that was going to happen, or could sort of predict it. And I think we all get these messages, but quite often we are taught to live from here. We're taught to live from our brain, from our logic. If you can't explain it, it doesn't count. And I'm hoping that a lot of you are, you know, more spiritual, more tuned in now, or getting more into the, oh, actually, I knew that all the time. Like, I've had these messages my whole life, but we're taught not to pay attention to them. So now I am giving you permission to pay attention to them, to listen to them. And they come to us in different ways. So it may be, and again, this is kind of getting really into, how does it work for you, and how can you practice tuning into your intuition so it works better? So there's various different ways that intuition can talk to us, and it's really playful and fun to look at that and just go, okay, I get these messages that I feel like come from my deeper self. They come, it's almost like I feel like they come through my body, and sometimes they're literally in my body. In the walking video, I talked about sometimes when I'm going for a walk, my body literally pulls me in a certain direction, and I'm like, okay, I feel like my legs, my body is being physically almost like manipulated to go down a particular route, and this is really exciting. It happened to me a few years ago when I was living in Bournemouth, and I was like, oh, I'm going to walk down this road, which is near where we used to live when I was a teenager. And I walked up this road, and in this road was this house that was for sale, a massive like Edwardian villa, and the name of the house was Westwood, which is my surname. And I was like, this is incredible. So I really started to pay attention to these physical signs of, it's time to do such and such, or I want you to go up this road. Or sometimes, you know, if I'm doing stuff at home and my body will go, I need to go out now. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I might be partway through doing something, but I'm like, right, I'm getting my coat on, or I'm getting my shoes on and I'm going out, because my body knows something that I don't know in my brain right now. But it's sort of listening to those messages and honoring them. So that's some way it can be like a really physical thing in your body. So there's also the clairs, if you've heard of these, like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognisance. And it's like ways of, oh, I knew that, but nobody's ever told me that or taught me that, I don't think. And this has happened to me a lot more in the last few years. And maybe if you're on your spiritual path, you might be finding this as well, is I read things in books that people have written, you know, these spiritual kind of leaders and authors now. And I'm like, oh my God, I felt that a few years ago, or I knew that, but I'd never really read it or almost like had it acknowledged or underlined anywhere. And then I get it read and I'm like, oh yes, it's not just me. You know, I felt that and I kind of knew it, but I had no evidence of that. And this is really exciting when this starts to develop as well. So you might sense or feel something or just know something in the depths of you that you go, I know this to be true and I have no evidence and I don't think anybody's ever told me this, but we just know things because we're connected to everything around us. We're energetic beings. We're just frequency floating, walking around the earth, connected to everything else, and we pick up these messages, and the more we're open to them, the more we pick up. You might be like myself, get clairaudience, where I get words or phrases just dropping in and I hear them sort of in my inner imagination. And you know, one of them was to go to a specific website and see if they've got any jobs, and I applied for a job there and worked there for nearly 3 years. Or I might have a word or a couple of phrases like playful magic, and I go, oh, okay. So, you know, I can ask a question like, okay, so what's my theme for the next 90 days? And it was like, what would really excite me? What would be fun to do? And it was playful magic. And I was like, great, I've got that phrase. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means. What does it mean? And then when I sat down a little bit later and going, okay, it needs to be playful, it needs to be magical. That sounds like a fun way of spending my time. And then it was, okay, how do I teach this to other people if I wanted to teach it? And it's sort of, and that's where these steps came from. It's like, what do I do now that helps me to be more playful, magical, intuitive, work with manifestation? And so intuition came through. It's like, oh, here's one of the things that really guides me. So it could be, clairaudience, claircognisance, clairsentience, feeling and knowing. I get tingles in my body when deep truths are spoken. And this started happening when I've got a sneeze coming through. A sneeze needs to come through. When I started coaching online, oh, excuse me, when I started coaching on the phone years and years ago, before we had any of this online way of communicating with each other, and people with my coaching clients would say things. So I didn't see them, I just listened, and I had this really you know, had to build up amazing ways of sort of talking to people on the phone and really listening to them. And my body was really tuned in at that point, and I used to get like tingles down different parts of my body, and I still get them now, sort of down through my thighs or my shoulder blade or across my scalp or something. And I was like, this is really interesting. So when this happens, I would reflect back to the client like what they just said, and I said, my body's just giving me this signal, this is a really important thing. And quite often they would cry because I had sort of reflected back that what they said was deeply true or deeply important, because my body told me. Like, I don't know how this is happening, but I really, really like it. So maybe you get this, maybe you get tingles, or it's described as goosebumps, but for me it's not goosebumps, it's different to that. It's kind of a tingly feeling in various parts of my body. And then I go, oh, I'm connected to some other kind of wisdom and I need to pay attention to this. So that's one of them. You might just, gut knowings, like just understanding things in the deepest part of your body that perhaps you've never been told or never been taught formally. You could have feelings, you know, maybe you've got a bit of clairvoyance, you see things or you dream things and then they come true and you're like, oh, okay, this is weird because I knew that. And it's like, yeah, because we're tapped into everything. And so these can be signs to follow. They can be things to, pay attention to, guidance for yourself. You could have, like I say, words or phrases dropped in. Using art for me has been a really great way of connecting to my intuition. I've got an amazing mentor that guides us through doing sort of visualizations and intuitive art, and has really helped me to expand that as a way of tapping into my intuition. We can do intuitive writing, free writing, stream of consciousness writing, where the longer you write for, the more you get out of your thinky brain and into your deeper wisdom. And that can be a beautiful way as well of bypassing the thinking and getting into that. One of my favorite ways, which I shared about in another of the videos, is going for walks and just being out and moving my body and letting my thinking brain slow down and just letting any intuitive messages come through. They might be something I see, like on a van, or something I overhear a conversation, or I go, oh, I feel like going into that particular art gallery today, and just letting myself be guided on these sort of intuitive walks, which is really fun because I get a walk, I get some exercise, I get to see some beautiful things, and I just follow my body and just go, where does it want to take me today? Am I getting on any particularly strong guidance today? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And then I also get things drop in, or I get some clarity, or things that I've been working on in the morning kind of slot together while I'm on my walk, and I'll write some notes on my phone and just use the movement to get me out of my head and into my body and out in the environment that I live in, and just allowing that kind of surrendering and allowing and receiving. So we need to be in receiving mode. So sometimes as well, I can be reading a novel or reading a book or doing something totally different. So my brain's busy. I know a lot of people get this when they're ironing or cleaning. We're doing something fairly sort of repetitive, mindless, doesn't take a huge amount of concentration. Or reading a novel keeps my kind of logical, concentrated brain focusing on something, and my unconscious mind is just working on something, and then it will pop an idea up or pop a solution up. And I've generally got a journal or something around me, so that if I'm doing an activity, watching something, a movie or something on TV, some transformational telly that I watch, or doing something different, if these ideas pop up, I can record them down, and so I don't lose them. So yeah, doing some cleaning or doing some kind of tasks that are sort of repetitive. Lots of people say, yes, in the shower, we get downloads, we get, especially if you're having a shower in the morning, because you've come out of your sleep cycle, and then it's kind of into the shower, and before your brain's got over full or over busy, it's a beautiful place because of the sensory effects of the water to just go, oh my God, something's just landed for me. I've had this great idea. And so yeah, get to know how your intuition speaks to you. You might do tarot cards, you might do angel cards. There's all sorts of ways that we can practice using our intuition. So you could use writing or art or music, or just listening to your body more and having more downtime, having more quiet time where you're a receiver for whatever messages want to come through. And that doesn't mean you're doing nothing necessarily, but it does sometimes require decluttering our lives a bit so that we're not so busy doing stuff and running about that we can't hear these messages. And there's different types of intuition. Intuition can come when we're doing something already to add to what we're already doing. So applied intuition, if we're writing something or we're doing a skill that we've done a lot of times, our intuition might give us the next step or help us along, or it might guide you to do something totally different. It might give you a bit of wisdom. It might give you some, physical or life guidance on what to do next. We can ask questions to ourselves or our higher selves or the universe, and then just go about our day and see what comes through. And just playing with it. So intuition and playing with your intuition is such a beautiful way, and a really good idea if you want to expand your playful magical tools. So that's my intuition. Drop me a comment below. Let me know how you use your intuition or how your intuition speaks to you. And I will share another video very soon. Bye-bye.